If you look back historically in this country, we had civil war for 27 years. And during that time, we had Roque Santeiro and a lot of the other big markets that were actually feeding people. They were generating small economies for families. This was a solution to how we lived. This is where we went to get our products. This is where we went to get our food, our clothing. And this is where our parents generated money to be able to actually take us to school. I am Geraldine Geraldo. I am the CEO of Roque Online. Our main mission is to connect informal markets with consumers. We do that through technology. Our purpose is really to try and enlarge their consumer base. What ends up happening is, as society starts to evolve, as our economy starts to develop, a lot of the informal sector people start to get marginalized. And that's simply because they cannot adapt to the changing business environment in society. Informal markets have always been a part of this society. In the past, it was the only game in town, so to speak, and so people would go there naturally. They didn't have to compete. But what ends up happening today is there are all these new elements and new factors, and the informal sector is unable to keep up. As society starts to transition, you start to see a different Angola. You start to see an evolution in Angolan people. You start to see people on social media. The informal sector people do not have access, in most cases, to technology. So they cannot reach the customer the same way that a big retailer that's new in the market can. And you start to realize that the people that have actually sustained this economy for a long time are unable to compete in this environment. And that's the point at which we started to look at it quite intensely and to find a solution to that. I'm actually a lawyer by background. I spent about 10 years in the oil and gas industry. When you trade a commodity, there are certain basic rules and principles that allow any business to thrive. And so one of our motivations was trying to understand whether or not the principles that were applied to big industries like oil could actually change the course of the businesses of an individual commodity trader, so to speak. General business principles that we had spent a lot of years applying in a different sector and trying to scale those down and make them applicable to an individual business owner at a very different societal level. If you look at what Roque Online has accomplished in 1 year, it's pretty remarkable. We ended up completing 214 digital orders across Luanda. We had one informal market order from Australia. We could allow them to actually gain significant incremental revenue, which over time would really be life-changing. In addition to that, we could actually provide them a platform that allows them to develop a track record, which tomorrow can serve as a basis for them to go out and apply for essential services that are provided by the banking industry. Loans, for instance, there is insurance, a lot of the things that we take for granted in our everyday life, which are essential for growth. So what are our chances? If it's results driven, I think we have a pretty good shot.
Geraldine Geraldo. Palmas para Geraldine.
Thank you. We knew that we had changed the way the world worked when an informal market vendor was able to export a product directly from their stall to Australia in the space of 4 days. But that is not the only thing. Nós fizemos dinheiro através de 3 formas. Uma é uma comissão na venda, que é um pass-through cost para o consumidor. Também é mais pequeno, que é uma percentagem do delivery fee. A terceira é, eventualmente, nós teremos base de dados, e já temos, só que não é suficientemente alargado, de vendedoras que não têm acesso a serviço, e instituições como bancos, seguradoras que precisam de acesso teriam a oportunidade de fazer isso através de nós, porque nós temos poder de influência com este pessoal através das compras que nós fizemos.
So, the winner of Seedstars Luanda 2019 is Roque Online! Congratulations!
company, I think that our, if I had to throw out a really big ambition, if we could find a way to commercialize the eradication of poverty, what would end up happening is people would make investments into solutions that eradicate poverty because they would have a vested interest in making money from it. And consequently, people would start to see themselves get driven out of, poverty conditions. And so this sounds like a very lofty mission, but if you reduce it to what we do, our greatest ambition is to be able to help individual vendors transition from very micro enterprises in the informal sectors to participate in the global commodities market.